Hey everyone, my name is Teague, and today we're talking about learning tunes. Learning tunes by ear is something that's incredibly important. It's also something that's fairly difficult. I have a lot of students come into their lesson and tell me that they learned a particular tune or that they know a tune when I ask them if they know it. And then when we play through it, they proceed to get lost either in the melody or during the first chorus. An easy way to remedy this is getting really comfortable with the melody and how it relates to the root notes of each chord of the song. So today we're going to go over an exercise to help relate these two things together, playing the roots of each chord with the melody note. One of the first things you need to do is get really comfortable with the melody. And that means listening to it a lot. And I don't mean hearing it as background music, I mean listening to it. Really take the time to listen to the melody, listen through it a few times, see if you can maybe sing your way through it. And depending on the complexity of the melody, see if you can figure it away from your given instrument. As guitar players, we have the tendency to separate the melody from the harmony of a tune and learn the two things independently, when in reality, we should be like a piano player and learning those things together at the same time. One of the first things you want to do is you want to find a really clear version of the melody of the tune you're trying to learn. So basically trying to avoid versions of tunes where somebody maybe doesn't play the entire melody, or they noodle around the notes of the melody a lot. There's nothing wrong with that, but it does make learning a particular melody a little bit more difficult. And then you want to go through the tune and try and figure out the root notes of each chord. This is going to involve some really intense listening, but what you're really listening for is what the bass player is playing on beat 1 and beat 3 of each measure. Chords that last for an entire measure are usually going to have a root on beat 1, and chords that last for half a measure are typically going to have the root note on beat 1 and beat 3 of each measure. It's important to remember that the melody is the signature piece of information in each tune. It's what separates one tune from another. So that gives us a lot of information about the tune. If you really know the melody inside and out and you've learned the bass notes, that'll really give us a good handle to getting started on learning the harmony of the tune. Typically, melody notes tend to be chord tones. So if you have an A flat and an F bass note, there's a good chance your chord is an F minor. It also gives us a lot of information to build an improvisation around. This is something that is really good to check out Peter Bernstein's solos on. A fun exercise is to continue to play the melody of a tune along with Peter Bernstein as he takes his solo. And you'll see how many times the melody lines up with the notes that he's playing in his solo. So let's get started with a little exercise and start working on doing this for ourselves. For this lesson, we're going to use the tune All the Things You Are. There are a lot of tunes out there that are good to do this with, like Autumn Leaves, Days of Wine and Roses, but we're just going to use All the Things You Are for this particular exercise. Something I'm going to do for this is I'm going to set my metronome at 50 beats per minute and put it on 2 and 4 of each measure. This recreates the feel of the hi-hat from the drummer and starts to give us a little bit of a solid swing feel with the tune, as well as helps us develop solid time while we're playing through this. 50 beats per minute for the half note is somewhat slow, but if you find yourself struggling with this, it's not a big deal to slow it down even further. So let's first play through the melody of All the Things You Are with the metronome. 3, 4. Now let's move on and just play the bass notes through the entire tune. 3, 4. it's time to try and put those two things together. We're going to continue to use the metronome at 50 beats per minute on 2 and 4 of each measure, trying to maintain that time while we play through these two pieces of information together. 3, 4. So once you're comfortable putting all that information together, it makes the tune really start to come alive for you. It gives you a lot of information and it should make you really comfortable with what the harmony notes are in relation to the root of each chord. This makes comping and improvising so much easier. As a comper, it's important that you're able to stay out of the way of the melody note of each chord. And the only way to do that is if you know what the melody note is. An example of that happens on All the Things You Are is the 5 of A flat major that occurs in bar 3 is an E flat 7. The melody note is a natural third, but the chord is moving down by 5th. We would expect altered extensions on that E flat 7 to give us something like a flat 9 or a sharp 9. But a sharp 9 with the melody note, a G flat with a G, gives us an undesirable minor second against the melody. That serves to obscure the melody and causes an undesirable sound. If we know that melody is a third against the E flat 7, that E flat bass note, I'm much more likely to play maybe an E flat 9, an E flat 7, or an E flat 13 over that chord with the natural third. That kind of voicing will sound much better with the melody note, and I know that because I'm comfortable with the melody against the bass notes. This also gives us ideas for maybe playing a chord melody. If you're comfortable with each one of those melody notes against the root of each chord, you can be much more creative with your chord melody. 3, 4. If I'm improvising, I'm going to work around those melody notes to try and give my melody some shape and relationship to the tune that I'm playing. 3, 4. Check out this lesson. Go through All the Things You Are, see if you can get comfortable playing the melody and the bass together, and then experiment a little bit with different comping figures. Experiment with soloing around the melody, and also try playing a chord melody using the notes that you know and those bass notes. So this is one of the essential ways to really dig into learning a tune and getting comfortable with it. If you know the melody, it's going to be really difficult to get lost in the tune. And it also will make you a much more solid player that other people in the band can rely on. So I hope this video has been really helpful for you. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out, contact me. I'd be happy to answer them. Thanks.